What's up, guys? Today I will be going over some basic, like PvP tips. I'll start out with base security since I'm here at my very beautiful base. Not really, but as I'll go over in PvP, your base designs are really more about functionality than looking good. Like, you probably don't want any peeking holes like this. But yeah, I couldn't get anything to place there because placement's kind of weird. So the first tip I really want to go over is placement. In PvP, you cannot just put a base anywhere and expect it to not get raided. You want to go for hitting, but you want to make sure you don't go to a well-known spot unless you're in a big tribe and you can actually like afford to hold a spot like that. I'm just a tribe of 2, technically 4, but 2 of them never get on. So this spot works very well for us. Now, we did have a base in a cave in the desert. I'm probably going to blurb out my actual base location, just so no one on server, if you're watching this, comes try to raid me. Yeah, but our old base spot was near kind of 60-60, 60-50 or 50-60, however you say that, 50 on the side, 60 on the bottom. Around that area, there's a pretty nice little cave there, and we actually had some good defense there. But the problem is that apparently that spot was pretty well known because every night we logged off, we just come back to be raided. This spot we've been able to hold consistently for 3 nights now without being offline. So that's really what you're going for. You really want to try to make sure you're not being found by other players. Just another tip while we're on this, I would say if someone sees you out and about near your base, do not run back to your base, especially if they're well equipped. If it's like just a few guys on like pterodons or something, run back to your base probably. If you think you can defend against them, run back. Otherwise, they're most likely just going to kill you, take your kit, or drop it somewhere. That's a lot better than having your whole base ransacked and blown up and found by the whole server. To our knowledge, one person has found this base, and they've kind of raided us because we left the door open, took a few things, and then flew away because we kind of scared them off whenever we came back. But yeah, that's another good point. Close your doors, obviously, offline or online. Like, if you're going away for your base, even just for a few small errands, you do not want to leave the door open. That's just asking to get your valuables taken or your base completely ransacked. Yeah, but if you're out and about, don't run back to your base unless you think you can defend against whoever it is. Like, me and my tribe mate did this at our last base spot, and we were able to successfully defend against 2 to 4. The other tribe had 4 people and 2 pterodons, but we were able to defend them because we lured them into our base. And our ground dinos, because their flyers didn't have maneuvering room, just got destroyed. That was a really good defense. We got a lot of loot out of that. But yeah, you ideally do not want to be doing that unless you actually think you can take the people. While on the subject of base placement, rafts, they're kind of hard to hide in good places, but I do want to go over a little overpowered tip about rafts, because I do have a raft here that we are going to use for this purpose I'm about to tell you about. But anyway, rafts, don't mind me, the space. Actually, I'll explain the space layout a little bit. So we placed it on this waterfall cliff here. There's only enough room for 1 pillar, and I built out as much as I could, so basically you just have this little tower base here. Now in PvP, like I said, builds are not about function. I mean, they are about functionality, they're not about design. I mean, if you can afford to make them about design, that's cool. But really, this is just designed to be a small little waterfall hideout that nobody ever finds, which, like I said, it seems like it's doing pretty good. Yeah, but just again, don't go to spots that everybody knows. So don't look up like YouTube videos and like spots you can go to, because more than likely everybody already knows those ones. I would personally recommend just going in like creative mode on single player, flying around, and just looking for rat holes, because there's plenty of good spots to hide bases, especially on custom maps if you just look around. I personally would recommend Ragnarok. That's what I'm playing on. Most of you probably already know that, just based because you play it a lot. But yeah, Ragnarok has a huge selection of rat holes. Fjordur, I imagine, would be great because there's tons of little places you could hide in the different realms, and no one will probably ever find you unless you were opening your mouth in chat or something. So yeah, but you can put chests on them and ram them into a wall like this, and the chests get meshed in the wall. They can break into the rest of your raft, but they cannot get anything that's in those chests, which is just really nice in my opinion. It's like so OP. Like, as you can see, I have a bed back there that I could not access because it's stuck in the wall right now. Very, very handy. Very annoying to raid, because me and my tribe mate saw a raft that was like this, and we still got some stuff out of it because they had turrets on top that were off, and we just took all the bullets out of them, and we broke into the roof and were able to get a few things in the part of his base that was accessible. But yeah, we could tell he was hiding all of his good stuff in the wall, and yeah, that's just is really OP in my personal opinion, and it works quite well. Hold on, let me try to close this so I actually follow my own advice. The next little bit of advice I like to go over while we're on the topic of base security is dinos. You really don't want your dinos outside if you can help it, because some people don't try to kill them when they raid, but there's other people who do not care and will just murder your dinos first opportunity to see if they have anything in them, even if they literally just have hide and 18 pieces of keratin. That's not how I play PvP personally, but yeah, I will kill people's dinos if they put them on like neutral or stuff. I would not advise putting your dinos on passive. There are some people that do that thinking, you know, like, oh, maybe they won't kill my dinos if my dinos don't try to kill them and all that, but if they want to kill your dinos, they're going to kill your dinos either way, realistically. If you can, like, try to get your dinos inside your base, like I was saying, they'll be safer inside there than they were on, like, on top or something, because someone could just, like, fly by and aggro them and then fly away and kill them without the support of your other dinos, which is just annoying. But anyway, I would another thing is turrets. Turrets you really want to use as a last resort and not your first resort for base defense, because if you have to rely on turrets, that means they've already found your base, and that means they probably will come back. If someone tries to raid you with turrets, it's because they know they can. So yeah, really you want to rely on your base being hidden, and turrets are absolutely useful. They can buy you time or whatever if you're offline, you know, can't get on for whatever reason during that time. But yeah, ideally you do not want to be using them as your end-all be-all for base defense. Base materials, stone is the absolute minimum I would suggest, because wood they can just sit there with a pickaxe and get in. They can use certain dinos and get in. What else? Oh yeah, generator. I have my generator in that little door right there. Generators are extremely important. They power your turrets, any sort of other important electronics like a fridge or cryo fridge. You want to make sure that's in a separate room so it's really inconvenient for them to get to it whenever they raid you. Because more than likely, if you're playing PvP, it's a real possibility that you will get raided. Beds, if possible, put them in a separate room. You don't have to, but you know, that way if they come in, it's just a little bit more inconvenient for them to try to make sure you can't spawn in your base. That's a lot of the base tips I wanted to go over, I think, though. And yeah, so I'll start with dino tips now, I guess. When it comes to dinos, everybody always goes for flyers in PvP to grab people, to do, if it's a pterodon, to do the spin move, if it's an Argentavis for the weight, so you can grab people and just drop them no matter how much stuff they have in their inventory. But yeah, don't ignore other dinos. I see too many people ignoring other dinos, and you know, it's like, yeah, pterodons are nice because you can get everywhere with them and all that, but actually we started out with saber-tooths on this server, and you can get a lot more weight on a saber-tooth than you can on one of these guys. And yeah, we were able to just carry, we moved from a raft to the last base I was telling you guys about in the desert, and they carried all of our stuff out of there, and a Carnotaurus helped too that we tamed. But yeah, just taming all sorts of dinos. Like, it doesn't have to be whatever the meta dinos are. I'm playing LDL, so we can't even get like most of the meta dinos besides obviously wyverns. LDL means, if you guys aren't aware, it means you can't do transfers except for like Dino. But yeah, just a lot of dinos are underestimated for their PvP value, and they should be used a lot more. Cause like the saber-tooths, and when we were defending it, we had a direwolf too, and he was actually the one that killed a guy in flak for us that was inside of our base, breaking everything. And yeah, the dude would have probably got away with all that loot. Yeah, just a lot of dinos just can do a lot more damage and can be like a really good surprise advantage in a lot of cases. Yeah, I'm not hating on pterodons, because as you can see, I obviously have two of them and they're good. I like them. But yeah, there's other dinos, people. Use other dinos. They exist for a reason. They're tameable for a reason, I should add. I even have a parasaur on the roof there. I have some specific tips for parasaurs in a second, because they definitely have a place in the PvP meta. And yeah. But yeah. Also, while on the subject of pterodons, if you pick someone up, don't drop them from the sky, because then they can just respawn whenever, because it doesn't count as you killing them if it's fall damage that deals the final blow, so they don't have the respawn timer. If you're trying to grab someone with a pterodon, just press the attack button and your pterodon can peck them all during their claws. It's still an easy kill as long as they don't have Ebola, and you know, that way they have to have their respawn timer, especially if you're like raiding someone, so you don't have them like respawn whenever you're trying to get their stuff. Well, also on the subject of raids, I would say just break their beds, obviously, so they can't spawn in, because that's what one of the guys did whenever they were raiding us at our old spot. It was so annoying because there's literally no spawn zones in the desert. If you've ever played, you know what I mean. It's really annoying if you build in the middle of this map because there's no spawn zones here. So also just have beds just everywhere near your base if you can. More than one, especially if you're not solo. Try to get as many beds as you can. Like, we have 3 right now. We should probably have more than that considering we have 2 people. Okay, so not pterodons. Parasaurs. Yes. They were the ones I had specific advice for. That's right. So these guys definitely have a place in the meta, and most people just know them as like, hey, it's parasaurs. They're that early game dino that nobody tames or whatever, you know. And oh crud. Also have parachutes, because that one saved my life because I was being a noob. Don't mind me. Anyways, parasaurs, yes, while they have great weight and they can like do a lot of things, they can run pretty far on their stamina. They're not horribly slow, they're not incredibly fast either. They have decent HP, although I wouldn't use them to soak turrets. But yeah, using them for weight, and they also have a scan that a lot of people do not know about, and I don't see a lot of people using with them. Now, the scan has limited usefulness though, because you can put them on turret mode where they'll scan endlessly, like in an area. The problem is though, you do not want this on if you're offline, or just really at all if you're not being raided, because it does tell the other players that are being scanned that they're being scanned, so they know there's a parasaur tamed nearby. Another tip about parasaurs is this doesn't really help really for PvP, but just a little known tip about them. They actually have a little roar thing you can do if you press down on the right stick. If you're on PC, I believe that's the C key. And that does like a little roar that'll scare some small dinos away. So like anything up to like raptors and stuff will flee whenever you do that. So it's pretty nice if you're carrying like a heavy payload and you can't fight them. Just do that and you should be able to get away just fine. Yeah, so yeah, parasaurs don't leave their scan on if you're not being raided, but their scan can be very useful if you're being raided and you need to like see where the enemy is, because it'll show you like an outline, not an outline, it shows like this red little circle wherever they are. So yeah, that's good for notifying you especially if you're in like a cave or something, you don't have good visibility in all the areas of your base. That way you can tell specifically where they are. Some other good dinos like that is a snow owl. Snow owls have a good heat vision. There's probably others that I'm forgetting, but yeah, you can get snow owls on this map. So really, parasaurs are the ones you want to go with. Direwolves have a low health seeking ability where they can highlight targets that have low HP. So that's kind of useful if you're just like wanting to third party like a raid or something. You see one of the raiders is at low HP, you can ride in and just get them real quick. Now, I think that's mostly what I wanted to cover with dinos. Oh yeah, cryopods. Make sure you get cryopods, probably. They're pretty useful. I do not have any yet, because we did get one from our raid defense earlier, but we lost it in another raid. But, yeah, cryopods are really not that expensive. You just have to craft them at a drop or an obelisk or a tech replicator if you have one of those. But they're really not too bad a piece. I mean, I've crafted like 70 of them in a row before, which like in one day, which is really grindy, but it can be useful if you have that many dinos. Now, PvP, less is more. I should have said this on the base part, but just in general, in PvP, less is more. Less gear you carry, the faster you'll run, so the faster you'll be able to get around, and the more resources you'll be able to carry if you need to craft stuff or whatever, you know. Dinosaurs, the less is more, because you can, the less dinos you have, probably the better they'll be, because you want to tame the best you can, and you want to, you know, the less is more, because the more base space you have to build, the more obvious your base spot is going to be. Now, I also say less is more for bases, because as you can see, we have to be pretty efficient with space in this base. Like, everything is contained within these 3 ceilings, just going vertically down and up and stuff. But yeah, but that's true for dinos, that's true for gear. Yeah, just really the only exception to the less is more rule in PvP is dino levels and player levels, because yeah, it's just levels in general. Because do not try to fight a high level player if you don't have the stats to back it up, if you don't have the advantages to back it up. We got attacked by a griffin guy yesterday, like just outside of the waterfall. He doesn't know our base is here though, so it's fine. But we killed one of his tribe mates, and yeah, he came back for revenge, and we couldn't really do anything because he obviously had a griffin. He was really high level. He had a flamethrower. I'll get into weapons in greater detail in just a second here. But yeah, just the less is more rule, except with dinos and players. I guess I'll go over player stats real quick. Dinos are pretty simple. Just upgrade them for whatever purpose you need. A parasaur, really the only thing you're going to want to upgrade is weight, maybe stamina if you're early game and using it as a travel amount. Now, player, you're going to want to make sure to have always at least 200 HP. Now, I have Swamp Fever, so it's going to take even more to pump me up there. Chances are, if you're playing official PvP, you're going to get Swamp Fever. But it's not entirely bad. There's a lot of negatives, though, with it, which I'll talk about. But yeah, pump at least 200 HP. You're going to want to make sure you have some stamina so you can run if you need to. Weight is always important, because if you don't have enough weight, you can't carry people's kits whenever you kill them. And chances are, if you have base weight, you probably can't even carry your own kit if you're carrying rifles and stuff and flak armor. Yeah. Food, water, you don't really need to mess with them. Movement speed. Now, I have 136 it says, but I actually don't have that much because Swamp Fever gives you 20% movement speed automatically, which is one of the only positives about it in some ways. Crafting skill, you want to upgrade that, especially early game, for crafting arrows, you know, your base stuff and stuff like that, so you don't have to sit around forever waiting for that to craft. Fortitude is important because a lot of early game PvP is knockout related. Melee damage, make sure you have some melee damage. You don't need to mess with it too much if you're trying to stay ranged, but I will go over a pretty OP melee tactic in a second, so yeah, that may make you reconsider going ranged. But yeah, early game PvP, pretty basic. It's like a club bola. You can even use spears. Last resort, you can use your stone hatchet, your stone pickaxe. Those are really like your last resort weapons because they're not really built to do damage. They're built to collect. And same with metal hatchet and metal pick. They're not really built to damage or collect. But really, early game, you want to have club, bola. Well, yeah, any time in the game you want to have a bola. That's not just early game. You want to have boomerang, because if you melee people with boomerangs, they can one-shot them if they have no fortitude and no armor, which is just absolutely broken in my opinion. Yeah, so basically that goes over it. You want to get high to armor as fast as you can, because it can save you on base HP from a long neck shot if it's not to the head. So it offers some pretty decent protection. Now ideally you want to go for flak, because it's actually pretty cheap. You just have to get to level 50 or so. Like, you mine 100 metal ore and you should be able to craft a full flak set. It's really not that bad as long as you know where some metal is and you have a smithy. Okay, so later game PvP, or really just, I guess this is still early game because it's a torch, but torch plus bola combo. Now some of you watching this have probably already heard of this, and you're like, oh yeah, I know what he's gonna say. But yeah, torch plus bola is just ridiculously broken. Ridiculously. I killed a guy's pterodon earlier, or yesterday, with a bola and a torch. That's all I had, basically. I finished him with some crossbow arrows to the head, you know, just to speed things up. But torches deal percentage damage. So the more HP something has, the more damage the torch is going to do to them. Meaning, no matter how much HP your target has, it's a viable weapon. The thing is, it doesn't work on stuff like as big as a parasaur. I'm pretty sure the biggest thing it works on is pterodons. But people will torture raptors, will torture pterodons, bola them. They don't really stand a chance. It's absolutely crazy. You can do this to other players as well, and the even more broken thing about torches is that they go straight through armor. Like, the burn damage goes straight through armor. Like, the initial hit damage will obviously be reduced, but the percentage fire damage is what really does all the work, and it goes straight through the armor, I tell you. I killed a guy in flak simply by bolaing him. I think my trimate bowled him, and we torched him, and he had a shotgun and everything. Like, you just have to be careful with that, obviously, because you want to outspend them so they don't shoot you. I'll go over guns in a bit, but yeah. Now, bows, crossbows, if you're on PC, sure, these can be viable. Even if you're on console, these can be viable, I guess, sometimes. But realistically, the bullet drop and stuff, you have to get so close with the console aiming. It's like, since you have no aimbot at all, or aim assist, I guess I should say, on console Ark, it's just really hard to land shots. You really ideally want to work your way up to a rifle of some kind, because that's obviously hit scan and not projectile. You just point and shoot, and it's really easy to land hits. Still not incredibly simple, but it can happen, you know. And yeah. Well, on the subject of bows, I'll mention tranquilizers. You can use these with long necks too, but tranquilizers are a pretty OP way to deal with people, actually. If you can snipe someone on top of their pterodon and just pop them with a tranquilizer, they'll fall right off if it knocks them out. You could go in their inventory, take all their stuff. If you want, you don't even have to, like, kill them with weapons or whatever. You can just feed them poop or spoiled meat or raw meat or something, and it'll kill them. It won't even leave a trace of you in their tribe log. They won't even know. If you want, you don't even have to kill them. You can just knock them and take their gear and go away. Like, that's what some guy did to my tribe mate yesterday. Yeah, so weapons. So guns. Hold on, let me get to my smithy. Guns, ideally, are going to be your later game weapons. Now, the flamethrower, I'll talk about as well. It's not. I mean, yeah, it's not really a gun by definition. It doesn't fire gunpowder-based projectiles, but yeah, I guess if you wanted to, you could call it a gun. I'm not gonna like get on you for that. Yeah. So let's talk about the smithy related weapons. Pikes are kind of just an upgraded spear. They don't break randomly. Pikes can be a decent choice if you're going against someone who's trying to torch you but doesn't happen to have Ebola, because ideally you can keep them at a distance with the pike, and it does pretty heavy damage. If you have base melee, I think it does 40 damage per hit. Even with armor, that's still pretty significant. Chitin armors, pretty decent, pretty cheap if you know where some bugs are. Flak those at what you're ideally going for. Now, the drawback to any really good heavy armor in Ark is, besides tech, is that you don't really have any sort of environmental protection, so you'll get hot and cold really easily. But to take care of that, you can just carry a torch, you know, or carry a spare kit of armor to keep you warm or cool or whatever whenever you're not fighting people. Now, swords, these can be good. I can see them being good. But ideally, you want to bowl up a person if you're going to use a torch. Scythes, kind of the same boat as axe and pickaxe, although they swing really, really fast. So who knows? Maybe they're good for something. I've never used them before in PvP. Pistol. The pistol. Now, the nice thing about it is it's cheap. 60 metal is not bad. The ammo's pretty cheap. Makes 2 a piece, I think. If you craft it. It's pretty nice. It's a pretty well-rounded weapon. It has a clip of 6, so the best clip out of any of the primitive guns you're gonna get. And it does fairly high damage. I think you can one-shot base HP to the head with no armor. Yeah, so just a pretty well-rounded weapon. I think it does only like 60 damage, but realistically with a 6 clip, if you pop that off, that's land all the hits, you get 360 damage. It's not bad, especially if you get a blueprint one of these. I really just like these to carry around. They're like a good symbol of authority, and as it says, it trades accuracy for flexibility, so you can kind of just use it in whatever situation you want. You can use it against dinos, you can use it against players, you can use it to snipe, kind of. You can put a scope attachment on it, so you know that's kind of nice. Yeah, the long neck. Now this one it does have its place in PvP, mainly for tranquilizing, but you can put a scope on this bad boy and he does 195 damage to the head, which is just a lot. So if you put a scope on him, it's really deadly, but the problem is it's only a one-shot rifle, so you know, there's obviously some drawbacks to that. The basic shotgun, it's pretty heavy damage, which is kind of nice. It has way worse, way worse spread. I guess that's the way I want to word it. The bullets spread a lot farther than the fabricated one, and you only have 2 clips in it, a clip of 2, as opposed to the 6 of the fabricated one. Now, shotgun ammo is kind of a pain to craft, but it can be well worth it for a nice PvE type weapon, or just a close range people in PvP, because it will shred armor if all those pellets hit. Now, grapple hooks, shields, these are all useful complementary gear you can take depending on your mission. Grapples can be really useful for like raiding people, stealth raids. Shields, really ideally, most people use shields to soak turrets if they don't have a soaker dino. Get a good shield BP and just soak all the turrets out until they run out of bullets. Grenades, these are decent, but it takes probably 3 to 5 to bust open a stone structure, which is not ideal considering C4 can do it in one blast. Now, C4 and all the fabricated guns are obviously going to take the fabricator, so you're going to want to grind that out. Trank darts, those are very useful. Bear traps can be pretty useful. The only problem is you have to put them out in advance. Metal structures, of course, very, very useful. Kind of expensive, but if you have a constant like flow CP, it's really not too bad. Now, obviously, taming isn't as big in PvP as it is in PvE, but knowing which dinos to tame and having the resources to tame them when you need to is always important. So, yeah, crafting narcotics, you want to be able to craft lots of gunpowder and stuff like that. Now, for the other weapons, fabricated pistol. This one does less damage than the other pistol, but it has a clip that's over twice as large, so, you know, that's kind of nice. The ammo's still relatively cheap. The fabricated shotgun. Now, this thing is an S tier weapon in my book. Really, it's more of a PvE weapon, but, I mean, you can snipe people with this thing if you want to. The spread is not bad at all. Like, you might as well be shooting off a full, whatever it's called, full case, I don't know, some expert told me, but one of the ones that doesn't burst until it actually hits, it is basically that good of spread. Like, it's really not bad at all. I've like shot a Pelagornis from, he was like at the edge of my render distance. I still got 70 damage when all the pellets landed on him. So, you know, pretty good. Obviously does a lot more damage up close, does less damage than does less damage per pellet than the non-fabricated one, but it has a lot more pellets and the spread is a lot like more confined, which is always a nice thing. The problem is that also makes it a little bit harder to hit your target, especially if they're fast moving. But if you bullet someone and just blast them a few times, there's no way they're going to survive. Now the assault rifle, this one's a pretty good weapon. Ideally, you only really want to use this against players, or else maybe dinos that are on like passive or whatever. This just is to drain their armor, I'd say, really more than to kill them, because it's not super heavy damage, but it's enough definitely to break armor. And their ammo is important as well, because, you know, you need that for your turrets and stuff. So now C4, this is the ultimate raiding weapon, and yeah, this is really what you're going to go for if you're raiding people. You want this and not grenades. It's a bit more expensive because you obviously need a remote too, but in the long run, it's going to be a much better investment for you than crafting grenades. And it's way more accurate too. Okay, the sniper rifle. This is another S tier weapon right here. It has a clip of 8, I believe. I can't really see from here where I'm sitting. But yes, I believe a clip of 8. And you know, it does less damage than a long neck, but really it's not that much less. The sniper bullet's about the same cost as a long neck bullet, but it has a built-in scope, and you know, that clip of 8, so you can't go wrong with that. You just blast people from on top of their dinos. You can snipe them off the top, just pick them off like that. Now another weapon, I don't have it unlocked on this server, but the fabricated bow, or whatever it might be called, compound bow, yes, that is another popular choice for PvP. More for PC players, because they can obviously aim it better, but really on console too, it's not a bad weapon. It's pretty reliable. Hey, so I'm adding this afterwards because I forgot a few things that are pretty important to consider. First off, they're both weapons, but the whip is extremely useful. It can knock weapons out of enemies' hands, which is just really OP in my opinion. And then also the flamethrower, which I said I was going to go on more depth and somehow forgot to, but yeah, it's basically just a range torch. The fire off of it does percentage damage. It's just really broken as well, more so than the torch even, but it's kind of fair considering how expensive it is to craft. Anyways, thanks for watching. That was all I was going to go over in this video, but I will probably release a video on how to use C4, grapple hooks, any of that complicated equipment, spray gun, because a lot of those things just like the game doesn't explain for you, and they're really confusing to use. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.